This 1 Degree Outside video is brought to you by Attitash Mountain Village. Book your stay directly through the link on our homepage, onedegreeoutside.com. Weekend edition, Saturday morning update. If we need to do one later in the day Saturday, we certainly will. So check onedegreeoutside.com and our Noises 1 Degree Outside weather app to see if there's any updates. Other than that, we'll have a Sunday morning update. The forecast has been pretty consistent from what we've been showing you, but let's get into it. Raindrops for many of us later today. Too warm for snow, unless you're in the far north country, ski country. We'll look at that in a second. A slow feed of colder air, though, comes in over the course of tonight and tomorrow. It's all about how quickly the cold air arrives, and that's why some of southeastern New England will not see nearly as much snow as others. And after the storm, an Arctic blast comes in for everybody. Just a reminder, we've had a great partnership with Attitash Mountain Village, and this is the last weekend to enter the giveaway for a 2-night stay, deluxe accommodations up at Attitash Mountain Village. Get our app. If this is the first time you've ever seen our videos, grab the app. It's totally free. Noises 1 Degree Outside weather, and right at the top, you'll see the link to enter to win there. Drawing is going to be on Tuesday, but we close the entries on Monday on the holiday. Okay, so we're talking about temperatures today reaching into the 40s. The reason that it's warm enough to be raindrops when precipitation comes in. Light rain showers starting up during the early to middle afternoon, but by late afternoon, evening, you're into the rain. Rain continues into the first part of the night. Notice the temperatures all the way into northern New England, warm enough that the valleys will see a rain-snow combo. The summits will probably pick up about 2 to 4 inches of snow all told here during the course of the evening and the overnight, but that would be at the summits. The valley's not going to see that happening. What's interesting is, notice things are already letting up by about 10:15 or 10:30. So if you're out late, you probably notice the showers will end before, let's say, 11 p.m. in a lot of spots. But notice the colder air bleeding south. By 6:30 Sunday morning, you get the freezing line down around the Mass Turnpike. This is a black ice potential, right? You think about it, you got rain showers going into the overnight, and then you sag the temperature down to freezing all the way down to the Mass Pike. Any place north of that, vulnerable to black ice in the morning. Same thing along the Mass Pike. This is just something we mentioned because oftentimes when you've got a storm coming later in that next day, it's easy to overlook an event like this. So keep that in mind. If you treat roadways, walkways, parking lots, you're likely going to need to put a little treatment down, especially, let's say, northern Mass northward for early tomorrow morning. Watch that temperature, okay? In the meantime, notice at noon, you're just starting to get some of this coming into western New England, but between noon and 3, it's spreading across southern New England. During the course of the late day and evening, it's spreading into northern New England by 8 p.m., coming down for everybody. See what I mean about that cold air not arriving for everyone, right? Southeastern Mass, the Cape, the islands, not getting into it nearly as quickly, and that means you're not going to get nearly as much snow. Now, look, it's not going to end up being a blockbuster storm because it's a fast mover. I mean, look at this. By the time we get past about midnight, overnight, Sunday night, and a Monday, it's gone. And by, let's say, or it's winding down, I should say, but by 5, it's gone. 5 in the morning on Monday, out of here, the Arctic air comes right in on its heels. As a matter of fact, the storm is going to be cooling the air all the way through the event on Sunday night. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Notice you've got lake effect streamers of snow coming with the cold air on Monday that could reach all the way into southern New England. And just so you know, middle of this upcoming week, we'll be watching the next developing storm that'll be down to our south, and whether or not that can throw enough moisture in our direction to graze us as we get into Wednesday, particularly later in the day, Wednesday or Wednesday night. We'll keep an eye on that. In the meantime, we had a great live stream yesterday. It was a lot of fun. Just kind of geeking out on weather, looking at the upcoming storm. If you're into geeking out on weather, you might really enjoy our podcast and live stream. Inside Track and Above members get access to that at patreon.com/1 Degree Outside. So how much snow are we getting, right? Well, you can see that impact the farther south and east you go, getting less in the way of snow. Let me zoom in a little bit more to southern New England. We think it's probably only a coating when you get to the mid and outer Cape. We think it's 1 to 2 inches when you get into a lot of Plymouth County, at least central and southern Plymouth County, running down to New Bedford and into southern Rhode Island as well. Then you can line up with the legend, but that light blue is 2 to 4 inches, which essentially goes from right at Boston, and then runs down through portions of central Rhode Island, through Providence, down through 395 in Connecticut when you get south of about Danielson. But you start picking it up to more on the order of 4 to 6 in this deeper blue, which would include parts of the Metro West. You get outside of 95 or even on the northwest end of 95 or outside of Boston, you're likely starting to pick up half a foot. That would take you out to 495. And then when you get farther north and west from there, we've got you in an 8 to 12. We do the same type of thing in Connecticut and to western Massachusetts for that matter as well. One thing worth noting here is that this is not nailed down with the finer details. What do I mean by that? I mean, there may be some wiggle room in exactly where this gradient should go. We may need to pull it slightly farther northwest or even sink it a little bit farther southeast. In other words, we might have to tighten this gradient up. But I think the question right now, because of the cold air coming in and the speed of it, is exactly where do you tighten it? Same thing goes for inside the 8 to 12. It's a huge zone. We've got an 8 to 12. Somebody in there, we might be able to even say just gets a solid foot. I think it's difficult right now, though, to be able to say exactly where that zone would be until we figure out the finer details on exactly where the precipitation pattern sets up with the storm. Either way, as you go farther to the north, you can see you start to outrun the moisture, and that's why you end up with less when you get up around Plattsburgh, for example. Generally, you're talking about what probably ends up being a 4 to 6 and 6 to 8 inch snow when you come across portions of northern Vermont into far northern New Hampshire, but the 8 to 12 when you get through the Whites and the Lakes region and up through the heart of Maine for that matter as well. What could change with this storm? It's all about the storm path, and it's all about the rate of intensification and how quickly it pulls down the cold air. There are, believe it or not, still about 15 to 20% of the guidance that produces nothing but rain for Boston. We don't believe in that right now, but also we would be kind of silly to just poo-poo it and say that certainly isn't going to happen, because that's a pretty decent amount for this late in the game. So we're keeping an eye on that. But what I just showed you is obviously our best estimate, or else I wouldn't have showed you, right? All right. Meanwhile, Sunday night, here comes the colder air. Look at this. We go down to the single digits and teens. We're talking about wind chills on Sunday night that are single digits above and below zero. And then Monday, high temperatures almost go nowhere. That Arctic air is in charge. You're going to have some of those lake effect snow showers trying to blow in all the way off of Lake Ontario. The wind chill on Monday during the day, either side of 10. By Monday night, low temperatures dropping below zero significantly in northern New England, and single digits south. Wind chills will be below zero for just about everybody on Monday night. Just a reminder, you can always grab some gear if you'd like to. Swag.onedegreeoutside.com. We appreciate those of you who've been supporting us in so many different ways. Updates as needed. Of course, as I mentioned, you can always check onedegreeoutside.com and the top of our Noises 1 Degree Outside weather app. Otherwise, we'll see you with another update on Sunday morning.